After a strong rookie year, Wyatt Langford had not just a great season for a 23-year-old, but one of the best seasons any Ranger has ever had.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Paddock, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covered this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Paddock. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about Wyatt Langford's season. Wyatt wasn't just a great season for a 23-year-old. It was a great season, providing context on what went well, what didn't go well, and what to look forward to next year with him. Before we get into all that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. Now, on today's show, we're just looking at this Wyatt Langford season. What went well? What didn't go well for the 23-year-old, soon to be 24? You're just coming up here in a little under a month. He is turning the ripe old age of 24. And I feel like just reminding everyone of that context of how wild it is that he is already here and putting up these kind of numbers is not to go underappreciated. This is the guy who played 2 seasons really in college, unless you count the 4 games that he really played his freshman year. He breezed through the minor leagues, heck, nearly made his big league debut in the World Series in 2023, but the Rangers decided to put Zeke Duran on the roster outside of Wyatt Langford, and his rookie year was solid, strong, good, pretty darn good for a 22-year-old, a nearly 4 WAR season, according to Baseball Reference last year. Finished top 10 in Rookie of the Year voting. I thought way lower than he should have at 7th. But this year, we don't know where he's going to finish up in awards ranking. But I would be shocked if Wyatt Langford doesn't get at least one MVP vote. He played 134 games this year, exactly the same number of games he played last season. Finished the year with a 5.6 Baseball Reference score, 25 doubles, 22 homers, 22 stolen bases, a 775 OPS, a 127 OPS plus. Finished the year as a Gold Glove finalist. We'll see if he ends up being a Silver Slugger finalist for the left field position in the American League. I would be a little shocked if he doesn't finish up as a Silver Slugger finalist, because there's not a whole lot of great left fielders out there in Major League Baseball. But this was a great season for Wyatt Langford. I mean, this was fantastic, especially for his age. I mean, 5.6 Baseball Reference WAR is one of the best seasons in Texas Rangers franchise history. I believe it is 30, around 30, a little bit under 30, 37th, tied with Adrian Beltre's 2011 season. Yeah, that's the kind of player we're talking about already at the age of 23. And if you want to give it context in the franchise of his age, of the age 23 season, there are only 2 players in franchise history who have had a higher WAR season at their age 23 year. And that was, of course, the great Ruben Sierra. I'm about to say Ruben Tejada. No, not with the Texas Rangers, but Ruben Sierra in his age 23 season. He was an all-star. He finished 2nd in MVP voting. He won a Silver Slugger. He had a 5.9 Baseball Reference WAR, led the league with 14 triples that year, hit over 300 and 889 OPS. I mean, he was fantastic that season. And the other is Juan Gonzalez, who had a 6.5 Baseball Reference WAR season, an all-star that year, finished 4th in MVP voting, also won a Silver Slugger. But for these guys, he also had 46 home runs and an OPS at exactly 1,000. But for these guys, they had more time in the big leagues than Wyatt Langford did. I mean, Ruben had 3 seasons under his belt at that point. That was his first all-star season, and the seasons he had before that were not as good as what Wyatt Langford did in his age 22 or younger season. I mean, at that point, Juan Gonzalez was a veteran big leaguer. I mean, at that point, this was his 5th season in the big league. Spent 25 games or so in the first 2 seasons at 19 and 20. But I mean, those guys had more big league reps under their belt than Wyatt Langford did at this point. So the context of what he was doing, I mean, this is one of the best young players in Texas Rangers franchise history. Well, what got better for him this year as opposed to last year? Well, the walk rate got up. I mean, he had an incredible walk rate. I mean, one of the best walk rates in all of baseball, top 10%. The defense was phenomenal. Like I said, he's a Gold Glove finalist, the outs above average in the 96th percentile of Major League Baseball. This is a guy that was a catcher coming into college. And heck, even his freshman season, he was still a catcher at Florida. That was in, I believe, 2021. Yeah, because 2022, he was a sophomore, turned onto the scene. That's 3 years ago, was his first season being an everyday, actually, no, yes, 3 years ago, his first season being an everyday outfielder. And then here he is, not that much after that, and he is crushing it. Absolutely. Maybe it's 4 years ago. My math is not quite off, not quite right. I don't think this early in the morning, but this guy, the amount he has improved, at the rate at which he has improved is staggering, truly staggering. I mean, a lot of things went really, really right for the Rangers in 2023. A lot of things, got lucky in terms of just the health of the right guys at the right time, of Nathan Eovaldi getting healthy at the right time, of Seager being healthy at the right time, of Max Scherzer getting healthy enough in the ALCS in the World Series to help the Rangers across the finish line. But the thing that might have gotten them the most lucky is jumping up from the number 8 pick in that draft, which they were supposed to have, if not for the draft lottery that literally started that year. They jump up to 4th in a clear 4-player draft, and then the Tigers decide to pass on Wyatt Langford and draft Max Clark, who is fine, but not Wyatt Langford. I mean, this guy is absolutely insane. The power has also gotten a lot better. The power just wasn't quite there in game to the level that I expected it in his rookie season. I mean, only 16 home runs last year. This year, that number jumped all the way up to 22 home runs. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets into the 30-30 club at some point. He's one of the 12 players in franchise history to join the 2020 club of 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases. He is still an elite speed guy. The speed was not quite as fast as it was last year, still incredibly fast. I mean, he's still young. It's not like he's aging. He's 23 years old. It's not like he's, starting to hit that aging bell curve. No, this guy is a guy that is in his prime and only getting better. I mean, he's hitting the ball incredibly hard. The barrel rate was super high. The average exit velo was super high. The expected WOBA, all of that in the top quarter of baseball. The chase rate, he did not expand the zone to basically at all this year. He did get some swing and miss. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But the guy was in the top 20% of chase rate. This man has elite power. I mean, truly exceptional light tower power. He has unreal athleticism, and that plays very, very well of him being defensively excellent at a non-premium position. And I'd say pretty darn good defensively at a premium position. I mean, in center field, he was a good defensive center fielder this year. Last year, he was just kind of out there and getting his sea legs under him. I mean, basically only played left field in the 40, 50 games or so in the minors that he played after being drafted in 2023. But he had 97 starts in left field this year, 36 in center field. He's a Gold Glove finalist for that left field job. And I think he's probably going to stick more in left field than he is in center field, just because the Rangers already have Evan Carter. And Evan Carter has more reps out there defensively. I think his routes are just a little bit cleaner, a little bit better than Wyatt Langford's. The speed is comparable on both of them, but I think that your best shot is just your best alignment defensively is Wyatt in left, Evan in center, Adolis in right field. But this guy just keeps getting better at every single part of his game. And I think there's a lot of high expectations on Wyatt, myself included. I mean, this is a great year. But it might not have been the superstar best player in baseball kind of a thing that people were expecting. But this was still a very, very good season for his second season in the big leagues. And this guy is only getting better. But like I said, this was not a perfect season. There were some things that did not go particularly well for Wyatt Langford. We'll talk about what those are and how he can get better, even better in year 3, right after this. This show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Let's be honest, most of us can't name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track. And that can mean money left on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all in one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to use interface on your laptop or on your phone. It's helped me organize my accounts, track my spending, and get a better handle on my investments without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where my money's going and how to make it work harder for me. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. The show is also brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and you are in the game. I love how quick it is. You can make your lineup in under a minute. My favorite part, PrizePicks just added stacks. So I want to ride with a player. I can select their passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. It's also fun to follow other players on the app. You can copy their lineups with just one click. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Shout out to the everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be going in depth on Jack Leiter's season. An incredible season for a Texas Rangers homegrown pitcher. Ugh, what a delightful sentence to say. I'll be talking about that ad nauseum on tomorrow's show. But for Wyatt Langford, the things that went well, the power got better, the defense got even better. I mean, it's such a young season. Progressing and getting that much better was incredibly impressive. The walk rate was great, but not everything was great. Starting with the oblique health. This is the second straight season where Wyatt Langford has dealt with oblique issues. This is actually multiple times within the same season dealing with oblique issues. He dealt with oblique issues last year. That's one of the reasons why he only played 138 games. It's also one of the reasons why he only played 138 games this year. Last year, he also dealt with I believe it was a calf injury, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe it was a hamstring. No, it was a hamstring strain that kept him out early in May when he was really, really struggling in his first month of Major League Baseball. But when he came back this year, the oblique still was an issue. It was an issue in spring training. It was an issue early on in this season, and it was what ended up ending his season prematurely. I mean, it was incredibly granted, it was a week early. It was not like he missed the final month and a half of the season. No, that was not the case, but it was multiple times dealing with oblique issues. And he talked at the end of the season saying, hey, I need to spend this offseason getting healthy. I need to figure out why this keeps popping up as an issue for me. And I need to work on my oblique health. How do you do that? I don't entirely know. I mean, oblique injuries, they are really tricky because all you can really do as a big leaguer is rest. I mean, it is such an important injury. It is your side. It is your twisting motion. I mean, that is very, very important for swinging a baseball bat. It's also very important for throwing a baseball from the outfield. I mean, basically every baseball action, there's a lot of twisting and contorting your torso. That needs to be fixed. It needs to be addressed, and hopefully it won't be a lingering thing. But I don't think those injuries are like hamstring injuries, where when you injure a hamstring, when you strain a hamstring, each consecutive hamstring injury usually gets more severe. Usually it just becomes a constant nagging problem. And I don't think that's the case for oblique injuries, but it's something that he's dealt with. It's something that he is, 134 games. That's the number again. I think I said 138. That was not how many games he played this year, but that is something that he needs to work on. That is something he is aware of. That is something he is going to spend a lot of his offseason trying to figure out. How do I get my obliques healthier? I'm sure the training staff has some kind of ideas on how to strengthen up those obliques so he does not have to deal with an IL stint next year, or at least not because of an oblique. The other thing that was an issue with Wyatt Langford this year was the strikeout rate. It was weird because it wasn't an issue in 2023 or 2024. He did not have a high strikeout rate as a rookie, but as a sophomore, absolutely yes. Now, a lot of those strikeouts were looking. I mean, like I said, the chase rate, it's not like he was chasing a whole bunch of pitches out of the zone, but a lot of times he'd take a called third strike, especially ones that were, close to the zone or sometimes even way more in the zone than you would think he would be able to just take. So that the two strike approach in general could use a lot of work of learning how to foul pitches off a little bit better, being a little bit less picky, a little bit more in protect mode after going down two strikes. I was looking at a lot of basically every split stat that I could find about Wyatt Langford. An interesting one that I thought y'all might like is just if he swung at the first pitch or took the first pitch, he had the exact same OPS, of 774. But one stat that I found telling about him needing to get a better two strike approach is he's really great early on in counts. On the first pitch, he had a 1,032 OPS. On the second pitch of the game, he was also great, whether it was in a 1-0 count or an 0-1 count, whether he was behind or ahead. In the second pitch of an at-bat, he was great. He hit over 400 in a 1-0 count with a 1,322 OPS. In an 0-1 count, he had 2 homers. He hit 471 and an 1192 OPS. So if he's swinging early on the first 3 pitches of an at-bat, usually he's doing some damage, some massive damage. But after that, after going down 0-1 in the count, he had a 573 OPS versus after 1-0, after going up ahead in the count after the first pitch, a 982 OPS. What that tells me is that once he gets behind in counts, he's not doing a good enough job of fouling pitches off. He doesn't have a very high walk rate in those at-bats. He has a really, really high strikeout rate. Basically, after the first couple pitches of the at-bat, he's doing much better job of being aggressive early on in those counts. I think that's a big reason why the power numbers have been better, because a lot of times in his first year, it looked like he didn't know what he was looking for. Usually hitters will go in there and saying, okay, I like this type of pitch. I want to hit this type of pitch. For him, it's fastballs. I want to hit fastballs in the zone. And if I get a fastball that I like early on, I'm going to jump on it. I'm going to swing at it. But with him, it looks like he was just in protect mode kind of from the start of the at-bat in 2024. That was less so the case this year, which might also explain why the strikeout rate was so high. I mean, it was in the bottom 20th percentile of Major League Baseball, the 16th percentile of Major League Baseball. The swing and miss was also a lot worse this year than it was last year. I mean, and last year, the strikeout rate was 20.6%. That's below league average. And this year, it was 26%. So it jumped up quite a bit, about 26.5%. But the walk rate, it didn't quite double, but it jumped up quite a bit there at nearly 13%. That is an elite walk rate. But if you can pair that elite walk rate while also learning to have that kind of two-strike approach, maybe the walk rate goes down to maybe he's in the 75th percentile-ish. But if you bring that strikeout rate back about to, league average, maybe even a little bit better than league average, which is what he was at last year, I think that could really, really help. It's marrying those two approaches of it's selective aggression. It's what Corey Seager does incredibly well. And what he did especially well in 2023. He did it well this year as well, but a little bit better when Corey Seager was at his best. Selective aggression for me is finding the exact right type of pitch to go swing out of your shoes on. Early on in counts, first pitches, that's what Corey Seager usually did. Is he'd look for a first pitch that he liked, pitchers trying to get ahead 0-1 in the count against Corey Seager. If they tried to just steal a strike on pitch 1, Corey Seager was hammering that thing and having exceptional success. And so far, Wyatt Langford this year, in the first 2 pitches of the at-bat, when he's swinging, when he's putting the ball in play, he's having a lot of success. But later on, doing a better job of protecting with 2 strikes, that could be improved. The passiveness, which we saw there a little bit, his first month of the season as a rookie was really passive. He looked like he didn't have a game plan out there. It looks like he was just kind of letting the pitcher dictate whatever the at-bat was going to be, of just fouling off pitch after pitch after pitch and not taking advantage of those cookies right down the middle. I mean, when you're given a pitch right down the middle in a hitter's count, or especially early on, go mash that thing, hit the crap out of it, hit it a country mile like you can do because you are so physically gifted at the sport of baseball, of hitting baseballs incredibly far. Go hit the crap out of that thing early on in the counts. And the best hitters, they can marry that selective aggression of, looking for their pitch early on. But when it's not there at bat, when they have taken some big hacks and swung and missed, because swing and missing on strike one and strike two, it does not matter. That's why you'll see Corey Seager's whiff rate being not kind of high, but kind high-ish, at least those first couple of swings. I mean, he's not afraid to take those daddy hacks, as they call them, early on in a count, because if he goes down to 2 strikes, he knows how to battle back, how to fight pitches off, how to, look at a pitch that's on the corner zone, because he knows the strike zone so well. Seager and Langford especially. Langford might actually know the strike zone a little bit better than Corey Seager does. But I think he knows it so well that he knows the exact right strike zone as opposed to the strike zone that's going to be called. He might have taken strike 3 that should not have been called a strike, but has been called a strike by an umpire. He's taking into account that he's thinking that every umpire is perfect, or at least his at-bats are showing that, he's perceiving every umpire as perfect, or treating the called strikes on his 2-strike approach like every umpire is going to get the call exactly right every single time, and they're not going to. So sometimes you got to chase a little bit out of the zone on a 2-strike pitch that's close, that you're not sure if this umpire is going to call it strike 3 or not. I mean, he had a really ungenerous strike zone called against him in his first season, less so this year, still not particularly great, but working on being that selective aggression of marrying what he did early on in counts this year, which was much better than what he did last year, and getting those extra base hits when you can get them, of taking advantage of those easy to hit pitches early on in counts when it's easier to get them than when you're behind in a count, and learning how to marry that with a good 2-strike approach of fouling pitches off when they're close, of not chasing balls in the dirt, of just getting a little bit better, of hitting off-speed stuff. He was still not great at hitting off-speed stuff this year. He was much better at hitting fastballs and breaking stuff this year than he was last year. I mean, the expected numbers on fastballs last year were also really good. They more mirrored the actual numbers mirrored more what the expected numbers said this year on fastballs. And breaking balls, he just got a lot better at hitting those this year. He still actually underperformed what the expected numbers were on breaking stuff that he did this year. But the off-speed stuff, that is still a little bit of a problem. He's only seeing off-speed stuff 15% of the time. So it's not a huge problem. It's definitely something that if you're looking to nitpick a 23-year-old with a 5.5 baseball reference WAR season in 132 games, there are definitely some areas to nitpick for sure. But what does this all mean? What's the next step for Wyatt Langford? And is he going to be the best Texas Rangers player in 2026? Talk about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you'll get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Put down a bet, pick up a bet, and put down $5. And if it hits, you'll unlock $300 to use all across the app right now. Let's look at some of these World Series odds if they have changed at all. Right now, the Dodgers favored at -220. Blue Jays at +184. The Rangers do not have any World Series odds, unfortunately, at this point. Let's look at the World Series MVP favorites. Shohei Ohtani, unsurprisingly, at +165 is the favorite to win World Series MVP, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at +600 is the favorite from the Blue Jays and the second favorite overall. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. The show is also brought to you by Rugiet. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've heard them all before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet offers fast-acting doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it makes it to get started. You just connect with a board certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, it's simple, it's private, and it's all handled by real doctors. Visit rugiet.com/lockedonMLB to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/lockedonMLB. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnMLB so they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Shout out to the everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On Mavs wherever you get your podcast. Is the first day of the Dallas Mavericks season. So shout out to Nick and Isaac over at Locked On Mavs. And on Friday's show, I'll be back and talking a little bit about Adolis Garcia's season, which will be unfortunately not quite as glowing as the praise I'm heaping here on Wyatt Langford on Friday's show. But what is that next step for Wyatt Langford? Well, health. Health number one. Playing 150 games in a season. I think done are the days for 162 to be the expectation. I don't think that's particularly fair. I think that it's just kind of the way the game is right now. That is just how it goes. Guys like to be Iron Men. Everybody respects a player that can play all 162. That's why Marcus Semien is such a respected player around Major League Baseball. That's why Matt Olson is such a respected player around Major League Baseball. I mean, those guys just post. They show up every single day. But playing around 150, I think, should be the hope for Wyatt Langford in 2026. Again, this is also a pretty expanded workload. I mean, like I talked about with him being, so young, is that he hasn't had an incredibly high workload. I mean, he spent so much time. I mean, most of his baseball season, his career has been at the amateur level, or at least not at the major league level. I mean, in 2021, that was his rookie season. In 2022, he spent some time. He also was playing at Florida in 2023. Most of his games were played at Florida. That was not a long season. These are the most games that he has played in a season in 2024 and 2025. Actually, exactly 137 total, if you are including the minor league rehab games that he had both last year and this year. But this is a big workload for him. 573 plate appearances is a lot for a player, and getting that oblique health right is important. Getting him on the field and not missing significant chunks of time is important for this Texas Rangers squad, because they really go as Wyatt Langford goes. At least the offense was this year. That he played in 67 games in wins, 67 games in losses, and in wins, his OPS was nearly double that of what it was in losses. In the nearly 300 plate appearances, 299, that in games that the Rangers won where Wyatt Langford played, he had a 1,006 OPS. In the 274 plate appearances in games that he played where the Rangers lost, he had a 539 OPS. So when Wyatt Langford is right, when he is good, the Rangers are winning. When he is not, when he is out of the lineup, more just when he is not going right, the Rangers did not do well this past year. I mean, he had some incredible moments his rookie season. I mean, he was so much better on the base path this year, just more aggressive on the base path. The stolen base success rate was a little bit lower, but I like that he is stealing more. This guy is incredibly fast, and he is a very good, smart base runner. He had a couple of kerfuffles, of boo-boos, of toot plans this year that weren't the best. And somehow Baseball Savant has his base running value at a net zero. I think that's insanely low. This guy is a valuable base runner. I mean, you don't steal 20 bags and end up, especially when you have a pretty high success rate. He only had 6 times that he was caught stealing this year. It's not like he had 22 stolen bases and 22 times caught stealing it. If that was the case, then that's definitely an average, below average base runner. But I mean, he is so fast. He usually takes that extra base. He is aggressive on those base paths. But I mean, this is a guy who is a valuable player, and I think does have significantly more next steps to take of being better with that 2-strike approach, of staying healthier, of just getting that little bit better and becoming one of the best players in baseball, because the amount of physical tools that he has, the the hard skills versus the soft skills, the soft skills of knowing the strike zone, of knowing when to chase, of recognizing pitches and, not chasing outside the zone and working those walks. That is an incredible skill. That is something that does not go away with age. And that is why I think this guy is going to be so good for such a long time. And then the hard skills of the athleticism, of the raw strength of when he hits the baseball, he hits that thing a country mile. He is also incredibly fast. He also has the kind of soft skills that he is gaining of how to make good reads in the outfield. He is learning so incredibly quickly. I still can't believe that any prospect evaluator saw the guy with elite speed and thought, yeah, there's no way that guy's going to be a competent defender at any position ever, especially in the outfield, where if you're just incredibly fast, it makes up for a lot of things. It makes up for a lot of bad reads, even if you don't have an arm. I mean, Delino Shields, he got much better as he was, growing in his center field defense. But early on, he was just an 80 grade speed guy that was playing second base that just got shoved in the outfield, and he ended up being at least solid basically right away. This is a guy with such a rare combination of skill set, of the athleticism plus the raw baseball acumen, even though he hasn't played all that much baseball. I mean, the amount that this guy has gotten better from not starting at Florida as a backup kind of bullpen catcher as a freshman to best player in the SEC as a sophomore, maybe second best, but definitely the best player in the SEC, position player wise. His second full season as a starter, to being drafted top 5, to being one of the best players in Major League Baseball at 23 years old. It is an incredible rise. And it's why I think there's still a lot more to come for Wyatt Langford. Because you want to nitpick, I mean, the batting average wasn't particularly great this year. The on base could have been a lot higher. The slug could have been higher because if he's just working himself into better counts and using that selective aggression a little bit better. I mean, this could be one of, if not, this is a guy who has the chance to be non-Shohei Ohtani version, the best player in baseball, the best player in the American League. That's the kind of ceiling that this guy has. But is he the best player on the Rangers right now? No, absolutely not, because Corey Seager exists, and Corey Seager is incredible. Is he going to be the best player on the Rangers in 2026? It's possible. I don't think so. It's possible he finishes with the highest baseball reference WAR, and it could be just because he's playing more games and is a little bit healthier than Corey Seager, because I think Corey Seager is a top 3 player in the American League, and I think he's a top 10 player in baseball easily, even with him missing 60 games this season. He still had half a win more than Wyatt, playing 32 games fewer than him, because that's how good Corey Seager is. But this is a guy who is going to take over the torch from Corey Seager at some point in the life of this 10-year contract. I don't think that Corey Seager at 38 is still going to be the best Texas Rangers player when Wyatt Langford will be, I believe that's 5 years, 4 years, 7 years from now? Yeah, 7 years from now. We'll see if Wyatt Langford is even still on the Rangers in 7 years. I'm hoping so. I'm very much hoping that the Rangers can keep him under contract for a long time. There have already been reports about the Rangers trying to figure out what an extension for Wyatt Langford would cost. I think this is the perfect time to do that. I'll have another episode at some point this offseason just talking about the extension talk, looking more into the numbers of what that kind of extension would look like, but something in the 8 to 10 year range. I mean, you'd have to pay him a whole lot of money because he's going to hit free agency at like 28, and that is peak earning years. And like I said, I think this guy's only getting better. So if you can lock him down for the long term, keep him a Texas Ranger for a long freaking time, this could be one of, if not the greatest players in Texas Rangers franchise history. And that is an incredibly high bar to clear. We still have a lot to find out because he is still just 23 years old, but the ceiling is incredibly high with Wyatt Langford. What he did this year, while it wasn't superstar, it wasn't quite top of the league, best player in the American League, finishing top 5, top 3 in MVP voting. This was a great year for a young player who, like I said, is only getting better. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.